Peak, 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 peak. Gege has me saying it week after week. We have the presence of the Kingslayer Yuji Itadori himself, along with the return of the Queen of Curses, Rika. But ahead of all that, we have a colored shot of Dabura facing off against Mahoraga to decide the strongest in all of space. And it is glorious. For this week's comment, Yuji, the artist for this series, said that despite drawing Dabura several times now, he still doesn't know what colors he should use on him. So expect to see some variations. Like with our second color page featuring our past and future cast members. And this one appears to be an artistic collaboration between Yuji and Gege. And in this case, we can see that Dabura's eyes are green. Then we have a compilation page of our many characters and their various moments. The mini-comic series continues with Imagination. Since Tsurugi and Yuka agreed that Jabaloma is the most alien-looking Sumerian, Maru asked what they expected aliens to look like. Tsurugi's drawing wasn't to Maru's liking. Yuka's drawing was even worse. Their second attempts were just as bad and looked nothing like Jabaloma. But they're all references. E.T., a xenomorph, Alf, and an alien from Mars Attacks. They're showing Maru some ancient history here. With Imagination 2, the siblings explain that these are the popular, scary depictions of aliens. Maru thought it over. Yuka asked him to draw a scary earthling from an alien's perspective, and Maru quickly got to work. And his drawing is eerily accurate to the greatest threat the planet has ever faced, Sukuna. Yuka asked why he has 4 arms. To Maru, it was fitting for someone really strong. Tsurugi asked why he has a mouth on his stomach. Maru figures that it would be pretty useful. And you already know that when we start silly like this, it's going to be a serious chapter. We begin with a flashback to Tsurugi's childhood. Soon after the birth of his sister Yuka, their father Iori went missing. When he was younger, Tsurugi was obsessed with learning more about their dad. Yuta and Maki always dodged his questions, so he discreetly asked some members of the Gojo clan. To his surprise, they considered Iori to be a very disciplined man like Yuta. He even looks like his dad, but that diligence was to his detriment. He resented the new age of sorcerers for their weakness compared to his parents' generation. And just before his disappearance, a maid caught sight of Iori having a conversation with a hooded figure with facial scars. Tsurugi has no idea what they were talking about. All he knows is something the hooded figure said in response. That doesn't concern me. Yuji Itadori does not care. Now, we already knew about Iori leaving the family thanks to the Volume 1 extras. But unlike the situation with Deku's dad, it seems like he'll actually be relevant to this story. And more than likely, a villain. I mean, aside from leaving when Yuka was born, as far as we know, he didn't show up for either Maki or Yuta's funerals. And based on the timeline, he should be about 55 years old now. Tsurugi had to wonder why their father left right after Yuka's birth and not his. Presumably, it had something to do with Tsurugi being born without a technique, while Yuka inherited one. Tsurugi doesn't know what was going through his father's head, but he assumes that the man must have accomplished some objective when Yuka was born. And in that sense, Tsurugi wondered if Yuka would even exist if he was born with a technique. And if she had been born without one like him, would their father have stuck around? Tsurugi was shunted across the cityscape by Maru's technique. Tsurugi always thought that Yuka would be better off not knowing all this stuff, but his sister is smart. Tsurugi didn't have a moment to lose, and he believed that Yuka probably knows just as much as he does. Tsurugi grabbed onto the side of a building just in time. It was a long way down. He grimaced as Maru activated his strange technique yet again. Their orientation shifted, so he dropped onto the window next to him. Maru thrusted across his sword, breaking into the building and cutting Tsurugi in the process. Maru crashed down further, and Tsurugi did the same from a distance. The alien rushed towards him as Tsurugi prepared himself. Sparks flew from Honoyagi, but Maru raised his hands and shifted the orientation yet again. Tsurugi was turned against his will. He was forced onto his side. Things were back to normal, but Tsurugi was thoroughly disoriented. Maru swiftly went for the finishing blow, but with his heavily restricted speed, Tsurugi got back up drew his sword and swung just as quickly. Onoyagi was caught by Cross's sword, and this was a terrible situation for any katana to be in, as it was on the verge of breaking. So Tsurugi spun faster than Maru could even blink, using the sudden shift of momentum to disarm his opponent, and this was done at the cost of both their weapons, as they plummeted below. But despite his speed, Tsurugi still had to land, and Maru didn't waste the opportunity. Tsurugi's eyes shifted just in time to see the attack coming, but too late to get out of the way. He was forced out of the enclosure and launched into the sky. Maru followed along with a hand raised to Tsurugi's vitals. The Rumelian warrior claimed his victory. Bleeding, Tsurugi acknowledged their situation. But if there's even the faintest chance of him saving his sister, Tsurugi won't hesitate to take that gamble. And his former friend would expect nothing less. Maru closed things out with a devastating 1-inch punch. Tsurugi was shot into another building like a rocket. The impact was deadly enough, but Maru wasn't done. He telekinetically hefted several tons of vintage abandoned vehicles. The alien launched them all at Tsurugi simultaneously. The skyscraper was bisected by the mayhem. Now that it was over, Maru was heartbroken by what he'd done to his friend. Although, that third eye of his wasn't nearly as sentimental. The thoroughly defeated Okotsu laid amidst the rubble, on the precipice of death. Tsurugi recognized that it must be amazing to be born with natural talent and be able to die in a blaze of glory. His grandfather's ring began to glow. Yuka's decision was one that Tsurugi could not accept. His sister Yuka could have had a simple or extravagant life. To him, so long as she could live somewhere, anywhere at all, it would be enough for him. The glow intensified. Tsurugi strained to open his eyes, wondering if he'd passed on after sensing his grandpa Yuta's cursed energy for the first time in years. But the complaining voice that emerged certainly did not belong to Yuta. A huge maw shrouded in darkness lamented the fact that the boy in front of her looked so much like Maki. But even so, this was a favor that her precious Yuta asked of her. So like a devil with a contract, she urged Tsurugi to accept her power. Looking at the creature, Tsurugi questioned if they would be able to win if he does. In turn, the curse questioned if it really needed to answer something so foolish. And when the light went out, Tsurugi accepted in the darkness. And Maru's eyes went wide with disbelief. Something brimming with power emerged to face him. Maru shouted his confusion, questioning what the hell he was looking at. Some sort of cursed spirit? But that was Rika's line. Tsurugi has fused with the Queen of Curses. An empowered flash step delivered Tsurugi's fist to Maru in less than a second. With Rika's power, Tsurugi returned the favor and blasted Maru into another building. Maru's guard was smoldering from the hit as the strange duo bickered. Tsurugi was grateful for the save, but asked the talkative curse to pipe down. Grandma Rika scolded the brat and threatened to complain to his grandfather in heaven. Tsurugi had to wonder if the curse could even make it to heaven. And again, Rika voiced her annoyance. Oh my goodness, the Queen of Curses has been converted into a cursed tool and is now being wielded by a heavenly restricted sorcerer. This series just keeps getting better and better. Beyond all that, the Volume 1 extras gave us a shot of Yuka trying and failing to hold Tsurugi on her back when they were kids. We have sketches of Tsurugi, sketches of Yuka, a sketch of Mino, sketches of Usami, a colored doodle of the spindle Shikigami, the new artist's cursed entrance into the series, a silly doodle of Gege being reassured by the fact that he has a partner to work with on this project, and the story of Maru's first time having coffee. Since Earthlings are said to start their day with the stuff, Maru visited a coffee shop with a smile on his face. Then he took a pleasant whiff of his drink. It didn't smell half bad. The barista caught his eye. She shot him a beaming smile. Pleased, Maru happily took a sip of his drink, only to be disturbed by a taste that was like muddy water to him. The barista's smile grew as he seemed to be enjoying the drink. The caffeine immediately gave Maru the jitters as he wondered if the Earthlings were messing with him. You know what, guys, at this point I'm just gonna pretend that this isn't intended to be a shorter story because I am enjoying it way too much. JJK forever. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.